Hi there, garden friends. My name is Jenny, and I hope you're having a wonderful start to your summer. I wanted to do something different for an early summer garden stroll. I want to talk about summer garden maintenance, and I have a question for you guys. Have you ever felt that you lost control of your garden, especially in late summer? The reason I'm asking this question is because I know I have felt like that many times. And I was thinking about, how we can prevent this. And I think I came up with 4 garden chores that have to be done early summer, even in the springtime, just so you don't run into that situation where it's super hot in late summer and you've lost steam. You can't continue. This list is by no means comprehensive. There's nothing scientific about it. It's just something that I came up on the top of my head. If you would help me out by adding any more garden chores I must have forgotten, please do so. If you are caught up in your garden, then also sit back and relax and just have fun. And if you can use this as a checklist, you can just use it as a checklist and just say, yep, done that, I'm ready, yes, yes. And again, if you can also help me by adding any other garden maintenance chores that have to be done before it gets too hot. I did not include irrigation because that's something that you need to do like throughout the whole growing season. So these are particularly the ones that I did include are things that you are really, I think, essential to have a successful summer so your plants won't die. And the number one maintenance chore that I think we all do after we plant it is mulching. And there are many different ways to approach mulching. Some people, for example, they like to plant. They like to plant in really close, so you don't have to mulch. And ground covers are also great ways to, avoid mulching. I'm in the process of adding that in the garden, more ground covers. You can see how this pigeon weed has just taken over a lot in this area, and that's great. That means I don't have to mulch that area. But there are places in my garden that I do have to mulch, and again, there are many different types of mulches. For the ground, I do prefer to use organic mulching, specifically hardwood mulching. I think I like the color. I want this area here to have some kind of little woodland appeal. And that's why I like this mulch. And I wanted to show you how my garden looks without mulching, because I like to use the chop and drop method. So what I do is I just pretty much pruned down these shrubs, and I don't know if you can tell the difference, but it was much more prominent when the cuttings were just recent. But now over time they have browned up, and it's hard now to distinguish. But this area here has not been mulched, while this area here has. And there will be a time where you won't even notice a difference. But why I like to mulch anyway on top of the chop and drop is just so it can look aesthetically appealing, especially when the chop and drop is fresh and you can see the cuttings clearly. For this area here, this is my triangular bed, and this is one of the oldest beds in the garden. And I have lots of shrubs and small trees that I have limbed up. So going back to mulching, I purchased my mulch in bulk, and I just prefer in bulk, which means yes, I have to take it out of the truck, but it's very cheap. Before I could even mulch, I had to do some chores that were a necessity. They were a necessity, and I couldn't even mulch until I got these done. Which brings me with summer maintenance number 2 chore that I think we all have to do is that, and it involves editing, a lot of editing. After you have put your plants into the ground, some problems might arise, and that again, we're gardeners, we're problem solvers. We try to come up with a solution for problems, and that's pretty much what happened here. So one of the things that I had happening here was a lot of overgrown shrubs, and I wanted to make some more space. One way to do that is, of course, to limb up the shrubs. And for pruning, there's many different kinds of pruning. It's when you prune up, you limb up, and you do that if you want to create more space, create more air circulation. In this case, I did it for this lower petalum here, which I pruned it up again because and it actually looks beautiful, and I'm surprised that there's actually some blooms. I'll show them to you, but it's just like, it's so surprising. The growth is beautiful. You can just see the red there, and it's also because we've had a lot of rain. Now I'm in zone 9B, but these summer maintenance chores, everybody does them. It doesn't matter what zone you're in. We all have to eventually just edit our garden as the summer, as the summer continues. We have to do some editing. We run into problems, and that means we have to, take action, which means cutting down some plants or limbing up some plants. In this case here, we got a lot of rain, and everything was flopping. But even if that hadn't been the case, I still would have pruned up. So I limbed up this lower petalum further, and that of course gave me more space here to plant. Now you're going to see that sunshine ligustrum there, which is branches are almost to the ground. And for the sunshine ligustrum, I ran into this problem here. And again, that's us being problem solvers here. So I did limb up. I didn't exactly limb up the sunshine ligustrum, just a little bit at the bottom, and you can see. But I really just wanted to, in this case, I really wanted to remove some branches that I felt were kind of sticking out too much, and then they were intruding here in this space. It was pretty much overtaking this night blooming jasmine and this bridal wreath spirea. So now I have enough space actually to walk. I can walk around here if I have to, which I don't really want to, but you can just see there's much more space here, which wasn't before. And what ended up happening was that I took out some branches. And again, I didn't really necessarily limb it up. I just took out some outside stems, in this case trunks, from the ligustrum. And what ended up happening was, once they were gone, when we got all that rain, it just completely, like, look at these limbs. They've curved down, and they were standing upright, guys. They were like, I'm not kidding, they were like this. And now, like, just with so much rain, and because again, they didn't have the outside limbs to hold them, to protect them, they just flopped down. And I don't want to cut it any further. I think I've cut it up enough. So what I'm going to do is probably just stake them, because yeah, they just went down big time. And that was a problem that I ran into by pruning them. I did limb up this vitex here. The vitex, I did limb it up again, just to increase more airflow. And just also to help me out with this beautiful lime sizzler that I have here. This is a lime sizzler firebush, and this one thrives on sun. And again, it was getting too much shade from this, from the Vitex. It's just, this is gonna be a summer superstar, so it needs enough sunlight and enough space to grow. Another chore, oh, and you can see there in the back, I have the, that is a native to Florida firebush. And I pruned it up too, but a little, not that much, just a little bit, to give it that shape. Again, I didn't want it to compete against, with all these shrubs that I have here. I do have azaleas here in this area. One of the problems that was happening here was this, this beautiful forsythia sage, which was getting really tall. And what I did was I chopped it down, not much. I don't know, you know, I don't know if I needed to chop it down any further, but that takes me to another type of pruning that you can do, which is chopping it down, chop and drop. Sorry, chop and drop. I didn't do it that much, as you can see, just enough. But I don't know if you could see the new growth that's coming up on this forsythia sage here, where I just chopped them. I was kind of debating, because I was thinking, well, I don't want to completely chop it down because I need protection for these azaleas. But I thought, if I chop it down now in the early summer, it'll regrow pretty quickly and provide that added shade that it will need, that this azalea will need, especially during July and August. So that was what convinced me I need to chop it down further, just so that these stems could regrow. And you can see I think they're regrowing pretty nicely. You know, I think they're looking good. So hopefully I'm going to be keeping track and seeing how this forsythia sage is doing. Texas sage here was getting overtaken by the forsythia sage, so that was another reason why I needed to chop them down. I did have enough space to add a hibiscus. This is a pink hibiscus. I see that it's growing. I also see that it's getting chewed up. And I don't know if it's probably by grasshoppers, which is another benefit of mulching, because by me mulching, I really like the look that it gives to the area, because you can easily see the plants. For me, at least, I can easily distinguish the plants. There's less chaos, I think. And don't get me wrong, I love chaos. I love chaos in the garden. Another thing that we have to do in the garden, another chore, transplanting and removing plants. And in this case, I did remove my, I had here a cherry sparkler. I want to say, yeah, it was a cherry, a fireworks. It was a fireworks fountain grass, which was not thriving. I'm going to show you over here the transplanting. Dot taking a nap. I did mulch this area, and again, look how easy it is to, when you're mulching, you can easily, when an area is mulched, you can easily find those weeds much more faster. I didn't take the stem, the root. That means it's going to come back. But here, I ran into another problem, guys. So look what happened here. I lost this big chunk of this rose, and I think it had to do with my late pruning. But I lost this big chunk of this rose here. You can see there was some new growth coming, but it didn't thrive. Now, I'm not really worried, because this rose is really, this is La Vesuve rose, and it's a very, very hardy rose. It's such a trooper. The flowers have this little nice dainty smell. Beautiful. The flowers are small, but what it makes in smallness, it makes in abundance. It just, so many blooms. And again, it's loving this weather. So what happened here was, I needed to do some problem solving, because what was happening was this beautiful patch of Mrs. James Hendry was getting bigger, and what happened was it was overtaking the Hercules amaryllis. So because this part of the rose died, I was able to add more plants here to this area, and I removed the bulbs, the amaryllis bulbs, and I placed them there. Also placed, and guys, please excuse me for how I pronounce this plant, ageratum. I had planted it over there next to the rose, pink rose of Sharon, but it was not thriving. Again, problem solving. So I said, well, I have this empty space here. Let me put it here. And it is getting much better in this area here. I also found a bunch of seedlings. And again, this was before I mulched. I found a bunch of seedlings, and I planted them around this bed here. This is I mean, these plants have to be real tough. And these vinca seedlings, they are small and insignificant, but boy, they are going to add a lot of color in the future coming months. So I wanted to give them a chance. This one does seem like it's struggling, but before I mulched, I did a lot of transplanting. So transplanting is important. Uh-oh, do you see that guy there? That little menace there. There he is. Oh, he is the one. Well, actually, no. The grasshoppers. Oh, how I hate the grasshoppers. Anyway, they're the ones that have been chewing this poor Helen von Berenstein. Yeah, they've been chewing her down. And I've already killed 2. One got away, and then this one, just because I'm filming, I can't catch him. But I'll come back. I'll come back for you. So, I have another problem here because this loves the shade. This Carex everarilla grass loves the shade, but for me, it has survived in full sun in the past. But you can see when I had this growing here, this part of the rose bush, it would provide shade for it. So I am hoping that this rose bush is going to get large enough to provide some kind of shade in the coming months. And in the past, you know, this has been a beast. Right now it's small and dainty, but believe me, it has gotten so big. That's why I had to cut it down so much this spring. So then once I did all of that, oh, and then I had to deadhead this Levasseur. No, this is Mrs. No, Carefree Beauty. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by a butterfly, a pipevine. Let me see if I can you see her? I think she's laying more eggs. I don't know if it's the same butterfly, but I'm happy to report that finally pipevine will be eaten up and gobbled down. Yeah, she's laying eggs. And anyway, let's focus back to here. So I had to deadhead this rose because this one, the hips do develop on this one, this Carefree Beauty. And that was again in May. Now it bloomed, and there's more deadheading I have to do. Now the first time when I was deadheading, because again it was going to get covered by the mulch, I was just dropping them. I didn't care if they land or not. I was just, yeah, and I picked up the ones that I could, but it wasn't a big deal. But now that I've already what do you call it, I've already mulched, I have to make sure they don't land on the mulch. Okay, Dot's still taking a nap there. That's fine. But anyway, going back here, so that's a problem that I'm sorry, no, that's a maintenance that you do have to do. Transplanting, and again, you want to do that transplanting right before it gets really super hot, because you don't want to add added stress to your plants. And you can really transplant anytime you want, but it just gets much more difficult. The survival rate of your plants will decrease as the heat goes on. It really does. And I have transplanted in the heat with mixed results. Another thing that I did here was not exactly transplanting, but this was a mixture of cutting down my my overgrown plants and planting. So what happened here was, if you can see this little guy here in the middle, I call this little coleus like the runt of the group here, because this coleus, all of this was planted except this one here, but you see how bigger it's getting. This was planted in in early March, and look at that beautiful one. It's gotten so big, and I have cut this down, but I didn't do the Texas chop or the Chelsea chop. What I did was I just cut down certain parts of the coleus so it wouldn't look like I had cut it down. And to do that, you have to go all the way down to the stem, so you can't even tell that these have already been pruned, because I did it strategically so it would not look like that. This, look how big it's gotten, and I have taken lots of cuttings. So all the cuttings that I did, they're over here. This is where I got all the cuttings. The lime green coleus were here already, but the red and this dark blue one here, those were cuttings from that little patch over there around the roses. Yeah, they were really drooping those first few days, but over time, you know, it's just they got, again, thank God we had all that rain, but they perked up and now they're growing nicely. And I have myself some free plants here just by all the cuttings. And again, I want to do this now. Another thing, another garden maintenance chore that has to be done during the summer that will help you with your garden is plant supports. Plant supports, really important. Here I just use this plant support here to help me with this button bush, which was my mystery plant, and it's embarrassing to say that I did not know this was a button bush. When I planted this plant, I just stuck it in the ground and I didn't know what I was growing. Yeah, can you believe that? So it turns out it was a button bush. So what I did was I just staked it a little because I think it was kind of leaning. It was kind of leaning, and I just gave it a little bit more support. Here, this Abutulon, I also staked it because what was happening was I think it was leaning, trying to get more sun because of this of the lower pedalum, and it leaned so much that when it was raining, it would get pounded down further. So I just added some little simple stake supports. I don't know if you can see them, and just so that it wouldn't be leaning so much. But those are things that will help you. And I want to show you something. I hope you're learning from my mistakes. I really hope so. So here I had to do a little bit more plant support. It's been here like literally for so long, year after year, probably even 10 years. One of the things that I would do, because it would always flop on me, especially with the rain, so I would provide some kind of stake support. You know, I would add some with some string and some sticks. Why am I doing that every year? So if you're new to gardening, take the time to invest on some good stakes, and that's something I regret, because in my cheapness and trying to save money and trying to say, I'll just make something, out of string and some sticks. I don't have time right now to build a good little staking system here with some strings. I mean, I could, but I'm so busy, I'm so behind. So it could have been just much easier if I had just gotten my proper stakes, and just put them around and make them get up. But instead they're flopping, and I have this problem every year. And again, you know, this is something that I will do. I will buy myself some proper steaks, and I will stop, you know, just being so cheap in some areas, because you know, when your plants flop, that just invites disease, and they just don't look good. Um, One other problem that I have here is, again, going back to staking. This uh, climbing peaky is in desperate need of a more support, and it's something that I need to get on to do too. But I'll do that for a separate video, because the climbing pinky it's a whole different beast. I'm gonna wrap it up. So thank you for helping, for watching, and again, if you have any more summer maintenance tips and chores that I did not include, please share. I really appreciate your feedback, and let me know if I forgot anything that you do in the garden to make sure you have a successful summer, that your summer is free of disease and pests. What are some things that you do in your gardens to help you achieve that goal? Oh, I forgot to also mention, I did limb up this lower pedal here, and you can see the Eureka Gold so much better, and also this beautiful Cherry Barbados. But anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you later.